Hello and welcome back to Illumination, the Disney Lorcana podcast. My name's Max.
And I'm Sam.
And we are back. It's episode 50. 50. Pretty neat milestone to hit. Appreciate everybody who's been listening. Appreciate you if you have not listened until now.
Yeah, we're getting close to that 2-year mark.
Yes, 2 years of Illumination, the Disney Lorcana podcast. Appreciate everybody being here. We're talking the return. The return of something Sam really likes. The return of a deck that was long since not playable. The return of what?
Ruby Amethyst.
Ruby Amethyst. Everybody's favorite or least favorite color combination. This episode, we're going to go over why is it back? How did it come back? And what the heck took so long / what changed to make it come back? We're going to go over all of that and tie it into how do metagames evolve and how do decks come out as a metagame becomes established, that kind of thing. I think we can make this a nice foundational episode to echo past just the current state of Lorcana. We will do all of those things this time for the 50th time. So let's get it rocking. How the heck was Ruby Amethyst able to come back and be a major player in the metagame? There are two major factors here. We'll talk about the first one because it's the most obvious one, and it's that Ruby actually got some playable cards in Whispers in the Well to add to what I would say is the lacking number of playable cards that got reprinted or new cards that came by way of set 9, Fabled. We got new tools. Sam, tell us about some of these new cards in this deck.
So I think one of the most important new cards we got is the 2-drop Diablo.
So it's Ruby Diablo.
Yeah, it's an uninkable 2-cost 3/3 that quests for 2.
What's its ability?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
It's all stats. Super Smee.
Yes.
But it's uninkable.
It's me that's uninkable, but also doesn't take damage.
Doesn't take damage.
Yep.
So it's like a lot of cards. It's like Super Black Heron. There's a lot of cards that it's like. But the important part of this is it's a large static character that comes down on curve and quests very aggressively.
Yeah.
Often being able to make a character trade into it to remove it from the board, which is extremely important. What else do we have?
And then I think the other most important Ruby card we got was the Headless Horseman, which is a 4/2 5 uninkable that quests for 2, and when it comes in, you banish a character that has strength 2 or less, and also during your turn, whenever an opposing character is banished, each of your characters gets +1 strength this turn.
Yeah, so we have the Headless Horseman coming to play in this deck, which I think is really good. We'll get more into the Headless Horseman, so I'm not going to beat that card up too much right here out of the gate. Anything else that you're liking in this deck?
Yeah, we got the 1-cost Tinkerbell that's just a 3/1 that quests for 1.
Fancy footwork.
Yep, Peter Pan, which is like our old friend Minnie Mouse.
Surfing Minnie. This time it's anime Peter Pan.
We have Hercules, the legendary 5/3 that quests for 2. He can't be dealt damage unless being challenged, and also your other hero characters can't be dealt damage while he's exerted.
Yes, and we'll talk more about Hercules as we get into this deep dive as well.
And then I'm also playing a 1 of the Shere Khan that we just talked about, and a 1 of the David Xanatos card.
Yes, this is the Ruby David Xanatos that gives your characters rush. So there's a lot of cool cards. I know a lot of people are experimenting with a lot of different tools and a lot of different options because everybody's really excited or not excited that this color combination is back and having an impact on the metagame. So that's part of how, and the other obviously is the evolution and the starting of the meta to settle down a little bit. We kind of know the big decks, right? We know that the Emerald, Sapphire, I call it cows a lot of the time to shortcut it. Bleen, Baja Blast, all of those is a popular archetype in the metagame. We know that, of course, Amethyst Steel is very much towards the top of the metagame as well. Along with Sapphire Steel in the conversation, we see some other decks not far behind, and I think depending on your perspective, you could argue are very, very good as well, including the Dogs deck, however you want to spell it. I think just the more traditional Dogs deck, less of the cutesy Circle of Life. It's the cooler of the two, but the more cutesy Circle of Life style Dogs deck, I think the more traditional Dogs lists, Chroma Dogs is a really strong player, and I think there are some other decks in the conversation as well. Blurple starting to see stocks going up definitely. So we're starting to see this settling down of the metagame. So we're starting to see things that matter quite a bit. And we're starting to see, okay, and this is what I feel like, and correct me if you feel differently, or feel free to interject if you feel differently, because I'm not to be corrected. I think with Ruby Amethyst, it always shows up late to the party because it needs the metagame to be somewhat stable so that it can come in and go, okay, cool. I know what 60 cards to run, and I know exactly what 60 cards are in here in order to attack very specific points of the metagame.
Yeah, I fully agree. Maybe not fully with we know the exact 60 we should be playing yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah, so I think that that's pretty awesome. And that's kind of the how did this deck come to be. Now we're asking why. Why now? We figured out how, what's occurred, but why now? I'm going to give you the rundown of what this deck does when it's on the play. 1-drop Palace Guard, 2-drop Diablo that we already discussed, 3-drop Anime Peter Pan, 4-drop Genie, 5-drop Headless Horseman. Guess what all these characters do except for the guard? Quest for 2. Yeah, most importantly, quest for 2. So I'm going to go, okay, quest, play a card. Quest with 2 cards, play a card. Quest with 3 cards. Questing for so much, so quickly. Quest for 1, quest for 3, quest for 5. And that's now I'm on the Genie, quest for 7. The game's over. Like, you're not stopping me. Even the Emerald Sapphire deck struggles to get the combo off that quickly. The Sapphire Steel decks are just now being like, wait, I have 7 for my Hades. It's very quick. It curves very nicely on the play. And it also has a lot of tools to attack important points in the metagame. And we'll get more into that in the next section. But we also have the flexibility of the deck to do what it's always done, which is get out on a front foot or be able to go, you know what? I have enough card advantage and I can go 1-for-1 enough and draw more cards than you that I can be the controlling player in the game.
Yeah, we've talked about quite a few times now that it almost feels like back when Ruby Amethyst was playing Flynn Rider into Sisu because of how quickly it can go.
Right, exactly. It can attack these slower Sapphire decks that are literally taking off turn 2 and 3, right? And I promise we will talk more about this, but that is a critical thing it's doing. It feels like it can just go, what are you doing over there? Well, that's slow. I win now. And it gets these kind of quote-unquote free wins sometimes on the play because it's just like, yup, you did the thing. And I think just in general, yup, you did the thing is an important key idea or key concept to keep in mind when you have a deck. Because remember, all these decks that I named do the thing, right? Like all the major players in the metagame do the thing. The Emerald Sapphire deck does the fast shift Clarabelle into your welcome. How many cards do you have in your hand? 5 or 6? Cool, I have 1 now, so I'm going to draw 5. Yeah. Which is extremely powerful. And they do that ahead of schedule while dealing with your best thing on board, creating the best thing on board themselves, and filling their hand up to match yours. That's the thing. Sapphire Steel, 2/4/6 Goliath. That's the thing. Amethyst Steel decks just can run out this crazy, either fast curve similar to what I described here with Timothy Q. Mouse into Tinkerbell, or they can be the controlling deck and they can play Calhoun into Lexington.
Yeah, and then they follow it up with the strength.
Right. So it can be extremely good at playing both sides of the coin. And that strength of a Raging Fire play that you mentioned is very important in this next part of the conversation that we're going to get into. Because now we're diving in. We're deep. We're going deep, right? We're done in the shallow end now. Sam, anything you want to say before we leave the shallow end?
No.
You got your swimmies on?
I do.
Great. So we're going to dive in deep here. This is a level of conversation that I normally don't put out on the podcast because I think it's a very high level conversation to start to have. So as you start to get more into the game, you're going to start to have these more high level concept discussions. And this is definitely one of them. So if I lose anybody, feel free to reach out and communicate. Maybe you want more of this talk. Maybe you want less of this kind of talk. Any feedback is welcome. We've been doing this 50 times. And again, I refuse to believe that I'm wrong. So I think you'll like this. A lot of things we've just brought up that lead into what's going on here. Numbers are important right now, particularly the number 2 and the number 4. And this is what this deck really does a good job of exploiting in the metagame. So the number 4, when it comes to willpower, means a lot. But this also lets this Ruby Amethyst deck really exploit a particular 2-drop we haven't really discussed, but it was reprinted in Fabled. Good old Lumiere. Sam, what do you like about Lumiere in this deck?
Everything.
Everything. Most importantly, I think the thing it does is it makes your Diablo 2 drop into a 4 drop, and it converts a lot of numbers up 1, which doesn't seem particularly important until you think about the card Lexington, which has started to, as per we talked about 2 or 3 episodes ago, has kind of defined the game. 4 is an important number. Being able to quest with that Diablo in the face of the Lexington and force the Steel player to go, now I have to trade off my Lexington for real. 4 is also the number of damage that a Thunderbolt can do. So we get to what the metagame would describe as the breakpoint number. So the breakpoint number for this metagame, when we're talking about willpower specifically, is 5. So we started to see a lot of people make a lot of decision points around the number 5. So that gets really important. It also really helps because you suddenly get these boosts. You get cards like Hercules, which can punch really hard very quickly and has a number 5 in it. You get Horseman that can get boosted to a 5. So this number 4 is a very critical one when it comes to willpower. And this deck is very good at being able to punch in a weight class of making that very important and making your opponent trade in places they do not want to trade because of Lumiere. Other very important numbers, 2. 2, when it comes to strength, is extremely relevant. There are a surprising amount of characters coming down circa the 5th turn with 2 strength. Elsa Fist Spirit, everybody's least favorite card, is a 2 strength card. One that I've been playing a whole lot of around the 5th turn is good old Vincenzo Santorini, who happens to also have 2 strength. Some of these go wide decks tend to play a lot of characters with 2 strength. The dog deck, their favorite card to play right around turn 4 or 5. The Tramp. It's a 2/6. That's a 2. Yeah. And what does this 2 strength do for a particular card in this deck, Sam?
You get to Headless Horseman.
It's important.
Lumiere both gives, in the mirror, it pumps your 2s to a 3 to keep them from getting Horseman. And it also, I know we haven't talked about this card, but also Under the Sea is really important to consider.
2 strength.
Yep.
There's a key number, and this deck really does the best job of being able to play with those key numbers to be able to keep cards in play when they often should not. A very good lockout for Under the Sea is 2 Lumiere. Mm-hmm. Good luck. That is just literally doing nothing ever again.
Yeah, you just hope they don't have Spooky instead.
Right. Spooky can do something for sure. We are also discussing that one of the things we need to think about are play patterns, right? If I spend my 5th turn doing something and then I pass the turn to Sam and she spends her 5th turn playing the Horseman, immediately undoing what I spent 5 ink on and presenting a 2 quester on a good curve that's already full of 2 questers, I'm now so far behind on tempo that I can't keep up. Another very important play pattern in this deck that really helps it get ahead of the game is Hercules. Yes. Hercules into Elsa Fist Spirit. Once again, everybody's least favorite card is so oppressive in this deck. Elsa takes no damage if the Hercules is exerted.
Yeah, so you just have to make sure you Hercules first.
Herc first. That's really important. Again, if I'm spending time in steel, taking my time when I want to sing a strength, I'm using an entire strength. Sam's using one part of one card, either one part of an Elsa or one part of a Headless Horseman. So she is always going to be doing better than I am. Even though I can do something equally impressive on curve, it's always going to cost me an entire card because Strength of a Raging Fire is an action. Whereas Headless Horseman and Elsa Fist Spirit both have when they are played effects, so that I'm not giving up a full card ever, and I'm always staying value ahead. So I can use that Elsa on the following turn, play a Dumbo, use the Dumbo ability to start using Elsa to also generate card advantage. I can use that Elsa to simply quest and be a very challenging card for my opponent to answer because it's evasive. I can use her on the following turn to once again challenge something if I so choose. So there's a lot of options, right? Like going Hercules into Elsa into Demona is a legitimately insane late game play pattern, and it's very easy for this deck to accomplish that play pattern. So it's got a ton of strong game into many of what the other decks are doing because they're all built around these numbers. Obviously, this deck having early success isn't surprising because it is the new kid on the block. That's another thing that has happened, right? We saw this breakout at the Star City Games event in Las Vegas. It was a CCQ, I believe. And this deck was first and second place with 2 unique players, not on the same team, not in any kind of affiliated testing partners or anything. They're just two people who realize this deck has a lot of play, started to get practice in early, and you have a lot of opponents going, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So that definitely has some power, but I would say in terms of staying power, this deck is here to stick around. It's going to need some adjustments, like Sam said. It's always kind of following the metagame trends. What broke out this week? What didn't break out this week? What ripple effect is this deck existing having, and what does that change for me? This meta is pretty wide open. When that happens, it's typical for Ruby Amethyst to struggle, because Ruby Amethyst, at the end of the day, as much as we may not like it, or as much as you do like it, it is inarguably a fair deck. It's not stealing cards out of your hand. It's not forcing any kind of weird resource interactions. It's not ramping to get ahead. It's simply thinking once per turn, playing probably one, maybe two things a turn. It's not looking at hands, it's not gathering information, it's simply reacting to whatever the opponent does. It's a very skill intensive deck to have to play, because you just have to take whatever lumps that your opponent is dishing out with this deck. So that means that we have to think about every week, is there changes? What new cards are impacting things? Do I have a card in my 60 or two cards in my 60 that line up to where I can deal with what my opponent's doing while managing to stay ahead? I think we talk about this a lot in the podcast, and I know you and I both have always discussed this. When it comes to Ruby Amethyst, I always look for a particular word. It's a conjunction. It's and. If I'm doing this and questing, I am winning. If I am doing that, that's always been the key to me to Ruby Amethyst. This and. If I can do this and, if I am dealing with the board and using friends, that's a huge deal to me. If I am doing this and I'm questing, I'm adding to my board and drawing cards, right? Thanks, Merlin Rabbit. Those are really important things to be able to do in this deck, because I always need to have a slight incremental advantage because I'm just playing Fair Lorcana.
Yeah, and I think this deck has done an awesome job in my testing so far of doing this and.
Right.
I mean, being able to get rid of a genie and quest. The David Xanatos, I know it's not like a standard in the decks at all, but being able to play him, I quest the next turn, play a Horseman to blow up one of their 2Xs, and then giving it rush when I quest. It's pretty insane play pattern at sometimes.
Absolutely. So I think it's going to be finding those cards, right? We've seen some builds having success with Mulan Shift. We've seen some builds that haven't really touched on that yet. Do we need it? Is that tool an important one? It's pretty awesome with Demona, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But is it a little bit too cute with Demona? Is it require too much setup? Are we taking away from the just curve out aspect of the deck that way? You can't play Demona and shift that Mulan until like turn 11 or something.
I feel like it slows you down a decent amount, and everybody sees it coming, so you're not going to like gotcha somebody.
Right. There's no morph to put that Mulan onto. It's an interesting choice, and I really think that this deck has always been a season to taste kind of deck. There will be a core 50 cards or 55 cards, but there will be that last little bit of flex space in there where the person will go, these things fit the way I play the deck best, and therefore I chose to put these in.
Something I definitely want to look into is finding some more heroes maybe that could do well in it, just to go with the Hercules.
Right.
I've been very impressed with the Hercules.
Yeah, I think that card's very strong. It's divisive, but it's strong. I think some people really like the play pattern it presents. I think some people really detest the fact that it's an inkable card that comes into play and ostensibly does nothing depending on the deck you're playing against.
Uninkable.
Right. Uninkable card. Did I say inkable?
Yeah.
It's uninkable, and it doesn't do anything the turn you play it for the most part. Like, yes, it is totally immune to Strength of a Raging Fire, but there are some decks that can really prey on the fact that Hercules does nothing.
Right. It can still get Hades, or there's other, you're welcome.
Sudden Scare.
Yeah, there's other things that can get rid of it, but when I'm playing Purple Seal, it feels really good
Mother
to throw
knows
that down.
best. That's probably the worst thing that can happen, honestly.
Yeah.
There's a lot that can go on, but I love that the metagame's so wide. I love that this is another option in the arsenal for everybody. It feels like, as much as I was worried when Fable was being reprinted that we were scaling the power level back too far, it seems like the design team has been extremely intentional with how is the game to grow and what's the way we want to play it. So I think that Ruby Amethyst doing really well is a good sign that it's still here, it's still doing its thing, and you get to
Keep questing.